Hello students, and welcome back to Hexxit Education. My name is Ken Kadia, and this is lesson number 6. Today we're going to be talking about our introduction to Tinker's Construct, and this is part 2, which is about materials and modifiers. And as far as I can tell, there's not going to be a part 3. After this, we're going to delve into the more specifics of all the most of the tools and weapons that are available through Tinker's Construct. But I really wanted to have a lesson, at least primarily, about all the different modifiers and materials that are used to make the items in Tinker's Construct, because that really is what makes the particular mod unique, is sort of in compensation for its inability to be enchanted by an enchanting table. You can modify it in a number of different ways depending on what materials you use for the various components of the tool or weapon you want to make, or modified depending on your desired modification. So that'll be the first part, the first section of this, the second part of the Introduction to Tinker's Construct, part 2. The second part, we'll dive into what will be our next series we're going to move into, which is going to be on tools and weapons. I'm going to try and cover 2 tools or 2 weapons in every episode for the next 10 episodes or so. But today we're going to be focusing on the pickaxe. So first things first, we're going to talk about materials and modifiers from Tinker's Construct. So let's head over to our melee weapons department. And welcome back. Okay, so before I begin, I just want to preface that this is primarily my opinion of what I think works best in Hexxit. Hexxit being a mod pack for adventure. It's about going out there and slaying monsters, defeating dungeons, and all that good stuff. It's not really a mod pack about making the most efficient tools or the most efficient machines or anything like that. So what I'm going to talk about here is my opinion on what is sort of the most time efficient parts of Tinker's Construct, namely tools and weapons that will be durable. I don't want you spending an excessive amount of time messing around with your tools when you should be messing around with dungeons. So here we go. These are the materials that you can use in Tinker's Construct to construct the various parts of the various tools and weapons, whether it be a pickaxe head or whether it be a tool binding. So my recommendation, and this is my recommendation only, I'm going to continue this as we talk about our series on tools and weapons, is that you use these 4 materials. First one, wood, ordinary wood planks. I recommend you use the wood planks to make the tool parts as quickly as you can down in our parts crafter, and then use the wood tool to make a metal cast immediately down in our smeltery, like I explained in our episode on the smeltery. I recommend doing that first. The next step, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, skip everything else. By and large, in Hexxit, it is not worth it to do any of these intermediary materials. It really isn't. I suggest you go straight for either steel, which is actually very easy to come by in Hexxit because of the way the Tinker's Construct works normally, unless I have another mod pack interacting with it, is that steel is made by simply putting an iron ingot into a furnace and cooking it a second time. It's just it's as simple as that. In some mod packs, though, you make steel by using various machines. Not so in Hexxit. And in this case, it's very useful because it is just as strong and equally as proficient a tool, most notably in making pickaxes, as ALUMITE, which is another material I recommend. However, I find these are virtually identical in most ways, in all ways that count in this case. That is durability, that is mining ability, that is speed. The main difference, though, is that steel is considerably easier to come by. All you need is get iron. ALUMITE, on the other hand, you need, if I can find this, I believe it is, I didn't remember it. Yeah, sorry. It is a 5-to-2-to-2 aluminum, copper, and obsidian. So in order to make an ALUMITE at all, you need to have a diamond pickaxe or its equivalent. However, I should know, and this is the reason I talk about going right from wood in a way to steel, and is that the with Tinker's construct, there are materials that are harder than obsidian. Obsidian, I believe, on the scale. Actually, I can look this up. Obsidian, on the scale of hardness, is not the most difficult thing to mine through. Let's see here. So, here we go. Obsidian, mining level 3. However, if we go over to ALUMITE, like I was talking before, mining level 4. There's something that's actually harder than an obsidian. And I believe 4 is actually the highest that it goes. Let me just check here. Yeah, nope, sorry. There's one more. Mining level 5. I'm going to mispronounce this every single time. That is manulin, which is the last ingredient, last material I recommend. Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. Which is the last material I recommend. This, and I'm going to pronounce it manulin. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I'm going to call it. And the reason I recommend this progression is that you can go from wood to the ability to mine the two nether ores that make up manulin, namely cobalt and ardite. Now, you cannot mine these in the nether with an ordinary diamond pick. It just won't work. What you need is something that is the equivalent of steel or alumite. Another thing you could do if you wanted to is make an ordinary pick, or you want to use materials, or iron or copper or bronze, and you can add a diamond to it. That's up to you. You can certainly do that, but I find that it's only a short-term gain. I think if you make one of these tools, it'll be durable enough you can keep using it even beyond just the ability to find manulin and produce that. So, oh, sorry, that's the end of the first part. I recommend these materials with 2 exceptions. This is a slime ball. A slime ball can actually be made into, let me bring it up here, a slime crystal. Here we go. Slime plus dirt plus clay equals slime mud. Cook that to make a slime crystal. You take a slime crystal and, oh, sorry. You take a slime crystal, and it is actually one of the more durable materials. The full tool durability 3000, handle modifier 2.0. That's what you're looking for. This modifies the durability of the whole item, and it's one of the best in terms of modifying that, next to obsidian. And for the exact same reason, I recommend that you make either handles or tool bindings or one part of most of the materials you're going to make using either steel, alumite, or manulin with a slime crystal or obsidian. Simply because it makes the whole thing much more durable. And I include these both. They're approximately equal, but I include both of them because sometimes it's easier to get slime crystal. You find a slime island around the world, and maybe you haven't been able to make one of these yet. You haven't been able to mine obsidian. A number of reasons. These are approximately equal. I highly recommend them, but only for handles or bindings. So. And just a little side note, the reason I'm talking about all these materials in the first place is because the material you use to make the headpiece of any tool is the material that is used to repair it. And we'll get to repair in a few minutes, but it all depends on which material you use to create the headpiece. That's the material you have to feed back into the tool in order to repair it. And over the long run, I think having to run back and repair your items much less kind of beats the relative rarity of alumite or even steel. So this is what I'm recommending that you do. I'm going to talk briefly about what I don't think you should not do. And again, this is my own opinion, but I'm going to go through them anyway. First one, stone. Gives you Stonebound 1 as an ability. It's not terrible. What it does is, as the item wears out, it increases its mine speed, but does less damage. So if you put it on a sword, it's not very good. But if you put it on a pickaxe, it's a little bit better. But durability-wise, it's crap. Don't use it. Second, iron gives you reinforced 1. By contrast, alumite here gives you reinforced 2, so it's not as good. Reinforced 1 is essentially the equivalent of unbreaking, so it has a chance to not use durability, but it's not really worth it because it's just not as strong as it could be relative to the use. Plus, there's plenty of uses for iron other than this. Okay, next, flint. Don't use it. Cactus. It gives you jagged 1. Jagged basically says it increases the damage as it wears out, but gives us mine speed. So it's theoretically better on weapons than it is on a pickaxe. However, it's still not as good. It's not as durable as any of these other materials. And even though you do get a little bit bonus to damage, it's not going to be as good as most other weapons you can make using non-Tinker's Construct materials. If you were just using Tinker's Construct, I'd say maybe it's not a bad idea, but because we're in Hexxit, because we're in an adventure mod pack, you're going to find plenty of much better stuff. So skip the cactus. Okay, next, bone. Skip it. Next, NETHERRACK. Gives you stonebound 1. Basically, this is equivalent, maybe a little bit more durable to cobblestone. So skip it. Okay, next, we have, this is the blue slime from the blue slimes around there. It's not quite as good as the green slime. However, in a pinch, it's not a bad idea to use this. So I would say maybe use the blue slime if you can't find either obsidian or green slime in order to make your handles or bindings. Okay, next, cobalt and ardite. Individually, these aren't bad. They're definitely better than most of the ones we've seen before in terms of durability, especially iron or even slime. The thing is, they are not nearly as good independently as they are if you combine these two to make manulin. So save these materials, put them in a smelter, double your ore output, and make manulin tools. Next, bronze, reinforced 1 equal to cobblestone. A little bit more durable, not worth it. Next, copper. Skip it. Next, paper. Paper is kind of a weird thing. Some people are going to disagree with me on this, I'm sure. Paper gives you an extra modifier, and it's the only material that gives you an extra modifier as opposed to a modifier which gives you an extra modifier. And there are two things we'll deal with that in just a minute or so. However, I find that the lack of durability doesn't make up for the extra modifier. It really doesn't. I mean, even if you put a diamond in, or sorry, even if you put is that correct? Yes, sorry, even if you put a diamond in, which gives you plus 500 durability, it's still not as good as it would have been if you just used a more durable material. So, my recommendation, don't use paper. Alright, so that concludes our section on Tinker's Construct materials. Moving on straight to Tinker's Construct modifiers. Sorry. Okay, from left to right. This is what I recommend you do use, and yes, it is most of them. This is what I recommend you do not use, and it's only a couple of them. First and foremost, diamond. Yes, plus 500 durability. That's quite a bit. Second, emerald, plus 50% durability. Now, very important. If you want to put an emerald and a diamond on an item to increase their durability, and I recommend you do so. You don't always have to, but it's usually a pretty good idea. Always put the diamond on first because it gives you plus, and then after that you put the emerald on, which gives you increased percentage. If you do it the other way around, it won't be nearly as strong because it applies one and it applies the other in terms of the durability calculations. Next, redstone. I love redstone. Redstone increases mining speed, but it also increases the draw speed of a short bow, which we're going to get to in our short bow, in our lesson on bows, which includes the short bow from Tinker's Construct. It's not the best thing in the world, but I'm just going to put it out there. It does increase the draw speed, but in general, the draw speed of the short bow is only one of its shortcomings. So, but however, redstone increases mining speed, and what you want is durability and efficiency. The reason I put 25 here is because you use 25 redstone in order to get one level's worth of mining speed increase. Any more than 25, and it moves into a second level, and you use up another modifier slot. And we'll get to that in just a few minutes. So, very, very, very useful. Next, my favorite of all. This is a ball of moss, and it is made, let me show you. It is made by taking something you probably thought was useless, but is actually very, very useful. Here we go. Here we go. Mossy cobble. Take 9 mossy cobble, you get a ball of moss. You find these in dungeons, you find them in jungle temples, you can even find them in some of the dungeon door dimensions. What this ball of moss does is it gives your weapons and tools auto repair. Now, one little side note, it is actually more effective during daytime than nighttime. It's just the way it was designed. But it doesn't have to be in your hotbar in order to regain durability. It only has to be in your inventory. I highly recommend, if you want durable, you go for high durability materials and you get auto repair. I'd even say auto repair is more important than using diamond or emerald to increase your overall durability, because you won't have to put materials back into the tool. You just have to not use them for like 20-30 minutes. My understanding about in terms of how long it takes to repair an item, it is dependent upon how much durability it is, how much total durability is. However, my impression is that it would. My guess is at most it takes like an hour and a half to 2 hours to totally repair a manulin item. That's my impression. I never actually wore down a manulin tool enough where I would need that much repair time, but it's only a couple of hours, and you can use your sword for a while in the meantime. So I recommend that. Moving on, lapis. This gives you luck, and yes, luck is equal to fortune. This is a fortune enchant, and you add. I put 6 regular lapis lazuli and 16 blocks here because this is the amount that you want to put into it. Okay, so the reason I put these here is because it requires a lot of lapis in order to get fortune. The reason is that fortune is very, very useful, especially on a pick. You can put it on a sword if you want to, especially if you're looking for wither skulls or something similar. But let me see, where's the last thing here? Yes, luck. Here we go. According to my notes, and I think these are outdated actually, it takes approximately 100 lapis in order to get fortune 1 or luck 1, approximately 300 to get luck 2, and approximately 450 to get luck 3. So that's a lot of lapis. But there's not much else use for this stuff. So if you come across it, pick it up, make yourself a fortune pick, make yourself a fortune sword. You'll thank yourself later for it, especially if it's a high durability item. One thing I will mention though is you may want to put it on a separate item than one you have for everyday use, especially mining speed, because you may run out of modifier slots before you run out of modifiers you want to add to your item. So moving on, we have a block of quartz. This gives you sharpness. This is only effective on obviously weapons, which include arrows, by the way, but it's actually less effective on piercing weapons. One example of that is the rapier, but it's actually more effective on things like the battle axe or the longsword. So I recommend it. Gives you sharpness, very useful. Next, blaze powder gives you fiery. Basically, sets your enemies on fire. Not effective against any mobs that have fire resist. Anyone from the Nether. But if you happen to have spare blaze powder, if you happen to build a blaze spawner farm, then definitely use that. If not, then let it go. It's not that big of a loss. Next, necrotic bone. I'm on the fence about this honestly, because on the one hand, this is very useful. Necrotic bone gives you life steal attached to your weapon, which is very useful, especially in battle. However, necrotic bone is very hard to find. It is a rare drop in the same category as a wither skull that you get from wither skeletons. The thing is, necrotic bone is one of 4 items, and actually the rarest of 4 items used to make this, a heart canister, and it says accessory, permanent health increase. That's right. The necrotic bone is used to make an item that can permanently increase your health by 1, as it turns out. So you could, I believe it's up to double. You could theoretically double the number of hearts that you have. So it's your choice if you want to use this in an item or if you want to hold on to it and make yourself, twice as strong. It's up to you. Moving on, we have Silky Jewel. This is made using, I believe it's string with a couple of other items, and maybe it might be an emerald off the top of my head. But in any case, actually I didn't check that. Yeah, sorry. You use string in order to make silky cloth with aluminum, brass, or a gold nugget. Then you use this to make a silky jewel with an emerald. That was right. And in order to make a silky jewel, and what this does is it gives you silk touch. Very important note, by the way. about silk touch. If you have an item with silk touch, you cannot also put either luck or AUTO-SMELT. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. I'm not going to recommend it, but these are incompatible. They just won't work together. Of these, you gotta make a decision on your own. I would probably go for the Fortune, because most of the time when you actually want silk touch on something, you probably want to bring it back later and use Fortune on it, but it's up to you. So Silky Jewel gives you silk touch. Very simple. Moving on, we've got Obsidian Large Plate. This gives you reinforced, and as far as I can tell, I haven't done a lot of experimenting with this. Maybe you guys can try it out for me. As far as I can tell, this could potentially stack to reinforced level X, and it's essentially what that means. I need to pull it up. Essentially, what that means is that it will make it incredibly durable. Let's see. There we go. I just skipped it. Adds reinforced to the tool, and it stacks with previous levels also. Now, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head how much it stacks to before it becomes reinforced X. But the only reason I don't recommend this is because there are other ways to increase your durability without adding reinforced. Basically, reinforced is a chance not to use your durability, but I'd much rather you have more durability than repair it than have less durability and have a chance not to use it, if that makes any sense. And it may not, but it's just my opinion. Okay, so moving on. We have beheading. Okay, now this is one of the more confusing things about Hexxit. I'm actually going to have a whole thing about this when we get to our lesson on axes. Now, there are, I believe, 2 different mods that offer beheading, and basically what that means is that when you kill a mob, certain types of mobs with a weapon, most usually an axe that has beheading on it, you have a chance for those mobs to drop their heads. And the problem is that some of the statistics I've been getting about the drop rates for those heads, and because what this does is, here we go, working inner portal had a curious effect. Yeah, see, this one says enemies drop their heads as a result. That is not true. This gives you a level in beheading, and I believe it goes up to level 3. My understanding, though, is that once you get to level 3, it should be like a 100% drop rate. But believe me, I've been hunting for stuff for a long time using beheading, both from Tinker's Construct and also from Harken's side, and also Project Zulu too. And they lie. They really lie. I don't recommend you don't get it. If you definitely want to start collecting heads, this is not a bad way to do it. But until I have more information about how the beheading mechanic actually works, I'd stay away from this particular beheading mechanic, because it does use ender pearls, which you can use for other things. And, never a good way to waste obsidian. Okay, so next we've got, our last things in the definitely to use modifiers column, or row, we have nether stars and diamond and gold blocks. What either of these does, both these together or this individually, it gives you an extra modifier, and that's very useful. You can only use them once, so this could give you, theoretically, this could give you +1 modifier to an item, and these could give you +1 modifier to an item. So +1, +1. So if you wanted to add the extra stuff on it, and you happen to have, a few extra nether stars around, or you happen to have quite a few gold blocks or diamonds, which is not that unusual, you will get quite a few of these. These, on the other hand, you're on your own about that. But I would recommend it if you get a chance to add an extra modifier, use these. But again, this is only if you get the materials on it, the materials for it. And the best thing about Tinker's Contract is you can modify your weapons on the fly. So you can put all the stuff on beforehand, and just add the stuff on afterwards. Okay, so these are all the ones I recommend you do use. Next, very briefly, ones you think you should not use. Number 1, lava crystal. It gives you AUTO-SMELT. Very bad idea when you have a smeltery that doubles your ore output. It's nice to take a pickaxe and mine out a piece of iron and then have a iron ingot drop in your inventory. But what does it say that when you could have just waited, taken it back to your base, put the same ore into the smeltery, and you got 2 ingots? So it's not worth it. Next, piston. This gives you knockback. In general, I don't like knockback. It's one of the things that sounds good, but it's limiting. I wouldn't recommend it, especially not when you only have a limited number of modifiers to put in any item in the first place. So, knockback, no. Next, Fermented Spider Eye gives you Bane of Arthropods. Probably the worst enchantment ever because it is so useless. It's only useful on spiders and silverfish. So if you happen to, I don't know, you know what, the only time I can see maybe using this, and this goes for all Bane of Arthropods, if you happen to want to make a mob arena using a spider spawner. That's it. Otherwise, don't touch it. Next, we have Consecrated Soil, which is used to make the smite. Now this one, I'm actually on the fence about this one. So if you happen to run across a lot of skeletons or something like that, or a lot of zombies, if you think you're going to be hitting a lot of undead, this is not a terrible thing to do, but again, there are better ways to increase your damage than to make it creature specific. You can just make it, giving yourself more damage. But I do want to show you briefly how to make it. Here we go. So you take bone meal, rotten flesh, and mud and dirt to make graveyard soil. Graveyard soil, I believe, actually heals undead. You cook that, it makes consecrated soil, which damages undead. And I'm actually, when I get a chance, I definitely want to make some of this stuff and put it outside my lawn. So if I get some skeletons or some zombies around there, I'm interested to see what happens if they catch on fire or something. So we'll see. I may do that on camera, but probably not. I'll probably just do it myself, my own edification. Okay, so last on the list, we have this, and I'm just including this because it's the last one listed here. Might as well include it. This is the electric, and this is useless because it only comes from an Industrial Craft 2. This is used to recharge a tool, and we don't have IC2 in this mod pack, so it's totally useless. Okay, so that brings our conclusion to the modifiers and materials section here. And there is one more thing I just wanted to show you while we have time. First item here, tool station. This is the repair and modification area. So I've already got an ALUMITE pick. This is all ALUMITE, all three pieces. Okay, now it says mine level cobalt, which means it can mine nether, or the nether materials, so cobalt and ardite, so I can get manual and pick. 3 modifiers remaining, durability 7, 14, not bad. Mine speed 8, not bad. But I can make it a little bit better. So first and foremost, ball of moss. Okay, it's gonna just come up here. You click here, and I bring it in your inventory or bring it right back in here. You have to move it, otherwise it doesn't do the thing. One other thing you can do while you're modifying it is you can change the name. So I'm going to call this Cool Pick 01, and I'm going to add also some Lapis Lazuli. Now this is only going to do one item at a time, so it says 9 of 450. 450 represents how many you could put in there as a maximum. I'm not going to do that. I'm only going to put one modifier's worth. So I believe that's about 100. Alright, and we're back. So we've got, exactly one more to go. So we have now Lapis 450 of 450. So this now has, you can see here, luck, which is fortune 3. And I still have one modifier remaining. So they actually changed the way it functions. So essentially, one modifier slot is taken up by the ball of moss. One slot is taken up by the lapis, even though I put the better part of a stack of blocks in there, 450 lapis. So this is now a self-repairing and fortune pick. But I'm also going to add redstone. See, I put that in there, and the modifiers went away. So this is the last thing I can put in there. So I can put maximum of 50 onto here, which I believe gives me, I think that's it. No, one more. Yep. Okay, so what I now have is fully modified auto repair, fortune, and mining speed. So it went back, it was 8 to begin with, now it is 12. So it's significantly faster, and it will auto repair. This is the kind of pick I like in Hexxit. This is incredibly durable, incredibly fast, and in this case, lucky. So that's the same way you would do it in most cases. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next part of our lesson. So with this, we're going to go back upstairs. Okay, and welcome to section 2 of this lesson, where we're going to be talking about the pickaxe. Okay, now before I start this, I just want to again reinforce that this is my opinion on what I think you should be looking for in Hexxit to maximize the amount of events you deal with and then minimize the amount of fuss you do over your tools. So this is a listing of most of the pickaxes you will encounter in Hexxit, with the exception of the Tinker's Construct ones, which we just talked about in the Materials and Modifiers section. As we move on through these next few episodes, talking about tools and weapons, I'm not going to go into great detail about Tinker's Construct tools and weapons, because we already talked about the Materials and Modifiers just a few minutes ago. But I will talk about are the tools and weapons you can find in the naturally as drops, or that you can craft either with your own obtained materials or materials that drop. So first one on this list, we've got biomass. Now the biomass is one of the 2 picks available from Hexxit. And how you make a biomass pickaxe is you make a biomass farm, which is actually very complicated. I'm not going to talk about that until we get to our episode on Hexxit. Or actually, I think I'm going to split it between one episode on blood and one episode on souls. This is from the one on blood. So what the biomass pickaxe does is it's a tool made with the biomass units. I can show you. And there you go, 3 biomass units, and just stick. And the benefit of this is that once you get into Hexxit, you learn that you can collect souls and also blood, and use it as a fuel for various abilities. One side effect though is if you happen to have biomass tools in your inventory, it will regenerate its durability simply by collecting the blood, not even using it, just collecting it. And a similar thing goes for this living metal. This is actually made by imbuing souls that you collect into iron. So it's not terribly difficult to find, and it's the same practice. What you do is you collect souls, and the act of collecting them repairs its durability. Not too bad at all. I would recommend though that the auto repair on the Tinker's Construct pick is a little bit better, but this one isn't too bad when it comes down to it. On the other hand though, moving on, we have our 2 pickaxes from the fallen meteors. And the only reason we only have 2 is because you can only make pickaxes using either freezerite or meteorite, not kreknorite. That one can only make, I believe it can only make a sword. So the freezerite pickaxe essentially has, I believe it's a aqua affinity. Increases underwater mining speed. Somewhat useful. The downside is that freezerite in general is is a low durability. So I find when I do get some freezerite, I usually want to make it into armor so I can get cold touch, and a pickaxe isn't quite as useful. On the other hand though, I love meteorite pickaxes. Make sure you get this pickaxe. Here, simple reason. Imagine yourself, you just happen to look down and you see a ravine. In the ravine, there's diamonds right in the side of it. So you say, okay, so you dig down a couple, maybe 10 layers of dirt. You hit the diamond. I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? I don't want the diamond to fall over in the ravine. There's lava down there. You don't have to worry about that as if you have a magnetization enchant, such as the one on a meteorite pickaxe. You can also use it in armor, but meteorite pickaxe much more efficient. And like I said in the previous episode, all you have to do is find 1 or 2 meteor strikes, and you get a ton of this stuff. So I recommend using this as soon as you can. In fact, if you can find this one early enough, this can be your replacement for a diamond pick. And so you can get obsidian. You can make alumite when we come to it. Next, these are the pickaxes from the Natura mod, and we'll talk about that later on. Essentially, Natura adds a number of different things into Minecraft, including woods. More specifically, it adds nether woods. So this is made from bloodwood, darkwood, fusewood, and ghostwood. In general, there's nothing special about these. There really isn't. In terms of durability, they're not as good as their vanilla counterparts. The only positive thing about them is you can make them in the nether. And just for comparison, the bloodwood has less durability than the ghostwood. The ghostwood is a little bit stronger. And there's also the quartz pickaxe, which is made with nether quartz. In a pinch, you make stuff out of these, but they're not the best thing in the world. I wouldn't really mess around with them. Moving on. These are the pickaxes from Twilight Forest. First, we have the fiery pickaxe. I already told you how I feel about auto-smelting in a previous section, so I'm just going to pass that one over. I will just say how you make it is kind of cool. Yeah, this is all the fiery set. You make it with fiery blood. You get fiery blood. Fiery blood is actually a drop from several bosses in Twilight Forest, most notably the Hydra. So if you get fiery blood, you can make swords, chest plates, pants, armor. But of all the things you can make, the pickaxe is not my first choice. It really isn't. Just get yourself some armor, and you never have to worry about getting caught on fire again. So it's there. I just want to show it to you. Next, we have the ironwood and steel leaf. These are the two main materials in Twilight Forest. And the difference between these two is that ironwood is actually renewable. You can make it using, you actually craft it yourself using several materials that are found in the Twilight Forest. And you make it with this raw ironwood materials, and you just cook it. You make these with live root, which you find in most caves in Twilight Forest. Just gold nugget and iron. Simple as that. And in general, ironwood is not quite as durable as steel leaf, but it is what it is. The downside, however, to being more durable is that steel leaf, you can't actually craft it normally. You have to find it. Let me just show you what it looks like. Yeah, here we go. This is the steel leaf, and you can only find this in drops and either chests or off bosses. It's not bad. For what it is, it's not bad. Okay, so the main benefit of these two picks is, as you see, they come naturally enchanted. The ironwood pick comes with efficiency 1. The steel leaf pick comes with fortune 2. It's not bad. The durability is not as good as vanilla stuff. Definitely not as good as your Tinker's Construct stuff, but it's not terrible. So that's pretty much all the pickaxes that I'm going to talk about here. Except I'm going to make one recommendation. See, I love the pickaxe. Just a little side note. My cell phone, the case on my cell phone has a picture of the diamond pickaxe on it. It is my favorite weapon. Sorry, my favorite tool. Weapon also, but my favorite tool from vanilla. However, in Hexxit, it is just this side of useless. So if you can't find a meteor strike and get one of the meteorite pickaxes, which will replace the diamond pickaxe, I recommend you go through this progression in pickaxes. A wooden pickaxe, normal vanilla wooden one, a stone pickaxe, an iron pickaxe. I know people are going to say you should make a Tinker's Construct iron pickaxe. You can. It's up to you. Use a little less material, but I find going back and forth to repair it is just as difficult as going back and forth to make new ones. So it's up to you. But then go to that diamond pickaxe primarily to mine obsidian. Get yourself a half a stack or even a stack of obsidian. You're set for the rest of the game. Then move from there. Get wood. Get a wooden pickaxe head and other materials to make a pick. And then get yourself an alumite, or as I said before, a steel. Or if you need to in a pinch, get some green slime, even blue slime if you need to, in order to get the manual pickaxe. This is what you want. Take this and pimp it out however many modifiers you want. This will be your best friend in the game in terms of pickaxes. Okay, we've come to the end of our lesson on the second part of Introduction to Tinker's Construct. That is mats and modifiers, and we've also talked about the various pickaxes you can find in Hexxit. Thank you all for listening. Class dismissed.